Maya Johnson had lived in Seoul for 3 years, long enough to know that a crowd gathering around a giant screen usually meant a celebrity, a sporting event, or a scandal. Unfortunately, this time the scandal was her. She froze in the middle of Gangnam as her face appeared on the screen above a shopping plaza. Her coffee nearly slipped from her hand. Daniel Park and Minho Choi sat in a live stream studio laughing, her 2 ex-boyfriends, together, talking about her. Maybe she was the problem, Daniel said with a smirk. The audience laughed. Minho leaned forward. I dated her after Daniel. Trust me, I deserve compensation. More laughter. Maya felt her stomach drop. For months she had tried to move on. She had poured every spare hour into building a small beauty brand. She had ignored gossip. She had ignored comments. Apparently her exes had not ignored her. Her phone exploded with messages. Lena called immediately. Maya, tell me you're not watching this. I'm watching it. Please go home. I'm considering a different destination. Maya, relax. You only say relax before something terrible happens. That is a vicious rumor. It's completely true. 20 minutes later, Maya was standing outside the studio. Security tried stopping her. Miss, you can't go inside. They've spent 40 minutes discussing me online. Still no. Then tell them the main character has arrived. Moments later, she walked directly onto the set. Silence. The audience gasped. Daniel looked like he had seen a ghost. Minho's smile vanished. Hello, everyone, Maya said brightly. The host blinked. Maya? Yes. I heard there was a fan club meeting. A few audience members laughed. Daniel stood up. You shouldn't be here. And yet somehow I managed. The confrontation went viral instantly. Every accusation met a response. Every insult came back twice as hard. When Daniel accused her of chasing money, Maya smiled. This is the same man who once suggested splitting a $6 dessert because financial discipline builds character. The audience roared. When Minho called her dramatic, Maya folded her arms. You cried because your barber cut your hair slightly shorter than expected. The host nearly choked laughing. The live stream audience doubled. Then the studio doors opened. Ji-ho Han entered. Everything changed. The famous Billionaire television host looked around calmly. Behind him rushed a younger man carrying 3 phones, 2 coffees, and a sandwich. I leave Seoul alone for one afternoon, Ji-ho sighed, and society collapses. The audience laughed. The younger man raised his hand. I personally collapsed around lunch. Minsok. Yes? Stop talking. Immediately. Pause. After this sentence. For the first time all day, Maya laughed. Ji-ho noticed. And smiled. After the live stream ended, Maya expected to leave. Instead, Ji-ho stopped her. You handled that well. I handled it legally. Important distinction. You watched the whole thing? I watched enough. And? Ji-ho glanced toward Daniel and Minho. I think they're very brave. Brave? Yes. Why? Lying about you while evidence exists seems extremely brave. Maya stared, then laughed again. For the first time since the scandal began, she felt like somebody was actually on her side. She had no idea her life was about to change. The next morning, Maya woke up to thousands of new followers. Half supported her, half argued with strangers. The internet had officially adopted her. Then an invitation arrived. Dinner. Han Media Tower, hosted by Ji-ho Han. She considered declining. Then Minsok sent 12 messages. The first was a photo of dumplings. The second was another photo of dumplings. The third was a voice note explaining why dumplings had emotional healing properties. By message 12, she was laughing too hard to refuse. Han Media Tower looked like something from a movie. Glass-eyed Steel Money Minsok greeted her in the lobby. You came. I needed proof you're real. Fair. He pointed toward the elevator. Also, I need a witness. Ji-ho keeps accusing me of being dramatic. You are dramatic. Thank you for supporting me. The elevator opened onto the executive floor. Ji-ho's office overlooked all of Seoul. The city stretched endlessly below. Nice view, Maya said. It helps me think, Ji-ho replied. You own half the skyline, only the attractive half. Modest. Extremely. Minsok nearly fell into a chair laughing. Dinner turned into a strategy session. Jiho explained why he was interested. Daniel and Minho aren't unique, he said. What do you mean? People like them build power through confidence. Even when they're wrong? Especially when they're wrong. Maya sat quietly. Can we actually prove anything? Jiho smiled. I don't start investigations unless I expect to win. Over the next week, Maya spent more time at Han Media than at home. Researchers gathered evidence. Producers reviewed footage. Lawyers examined records. Meanwhile, Minsok somehow became her closest friend. One afternoon, she found him hiding behind a decorative plant. What are you doing? Corporate espionage. You work here. That makes me harder to suspect. Another day, she found him asleep beneath a conference table. His explanation was immediate. Creative thinking. You were snoring. My ideas are loud. Even Jiho struggled to stay serious around him. Late one evening, Maya and Jiho reviewed files together. The office was quiet. The city lights reflected in the glass. You know, Maya said, dangerous beginning. I expected you to be arrogant. Jiho placed a hand over his heart. That hurts. You survived. Barely. And now? Now I think you're less annoying than expected. Jiho smiled. That might be the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me. Their eyes met. Neither looked away immediately. Something shifted. Then a cabinet door opened. Minsok emerged holding noodles. Is this a romantic scene? Both jumped. Why are you in a cabinet? Maya asked. I lost a cookie. Nobody knew how to answer that. For the first time in months, Maya went home smiling. The investigation started quietly. Then everything exploded. The first major discovery involved Daniel. Maya stared at documents spread across the conference table, her original beauty brand proposal. The one she thought had disappeared, the one she spent 6 months creating. Daniel had copied sections of it. Even worse, he had presented those ideas to investors. That was mine, Maya whispered. Jiho nodded. I know. The betrayal hurt more than the live stream. Then came Minho. Anonymous accounts, fake rumors, manipulated screenshots, months of coordinated attacks. Every trail led back to him. Maya sat silently. He knew exactly what people would believe. Jiho looked at her. That says everything about him. And nothing about me? Exactly. More evidence appeared every day. Former coworkers came forward. Former friends spoke up. People who had remained silent finally started talking. The story became bigger than anyone expected. One evening, Maya stood on the rooftop terrace outside Jiho's office. The city lights stretched forever. What if we lose? She asked. We won't. You sound confident. I've met Daniel. She laughed. The tension faded. Jiho leaned against the railing. You know your biggest problem? Excuse me? You underestimate yourself. Maya looked at him. That sounded sincere. I hate when that happens. They smiled. For a moment, neither spoke. The city felt quieter. Then the rooftop door burst open. Minsok ran outside carrying a large box. I brought emergency donuts. Jiho closed his eyes. Why? In case feelings happened. What does that mean? I don't know. He opened the box, but it felt important. The next morning, Jiho gathered the team. The room fell silent. The evidence is ready. Maya's pulse quickened. Jiho smiled. We invite them onto my show. The room erupted. Minsok pointed dramatically. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. Invitations were sent. Daniel accepted in less than an hour. Minho accepted shortly afterward. Exactly as Jiho predicted. Neither knew Maya would be there. Neither knew the evidence waiting backstage. Neither knew their careers were about to collide with the truth. That night, Maya stood alone at her apartment window. Her phone buzzed. A message from Jiho. You ready? She smiled. Ready. A second message appeared. Good. A third followed instantly. Also, Minsok stole my lunch again. Maya laughed. For the first time since the scandal began, she wasn't thinking about revenge. She was thinking about freedom, about the future, and maybe about a certain billionaire television host who made her laugh when she least expected it. Tomorrow, everything would change, and this time, she would be ready. The invitations went out on a Monday morning. Daniel accepted in 38 minutes. Minho accepted in 46. Neither asked a single serious question. That alone told Jiho everything he needed to know. They think this is a victory lap, Maya said. It is, Jiho replied. Maya looked surprised. Jiho smiled. They just don't know whose victory it is. Minseok nearly fell out of his chair laughing. For the next week, Han Media prepared the biggest episode of the year. Researchers verified. Documents, lawyers checked evidence, editors reviewed footage. Every detail mattered. Meanwhile, Daniel and Minho became more arrogant online. They posted clips, mocking Maya. They joked about appearing on Jiho's show. Their followers cheered them on. Every post only increased. Anticipation. One evening, Maya sat in the production room watching another clip. Daniel laughed into the camera. Minho bragged about how nobody could prove anything. Maya shook her head. They really have no idea. No, Jiho agreed. They don't. Minseok appeared holding snacks. Should we feel bad? No, Maya and Jiho answered together. The night before filming, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept replaying everything in her head. The live stream, the humiliation, the comments, the lies. Around midnight, her phone buzzed. Jiho, still awake? Unfortunately. Come downstairs. She blinked. Downstairs. Looking out her apartment window, she saw a black car parked below. Jiho stood beside it. When she reached the street, he handed her coffee. You drove across the city at midnight to deliver coffee? It sounded more normal in my head. Maya laughed. For 20 minutes, they simply talked. Not about the show. Not about revenge. Just life. By the time she returned upstairs, her nerves had disappeared. Tomorrow was coming, and she was ready. The studio was completely full. Every seat occupied. Millions watching from home. Backstage, Maya adjusted her microphone. Minseok paced nervously. You look more nervous than I am. I am. Why? Because if I were Daniel, I would simply faint. Jiho entered. Instantly, the room felt calmer. You ready? Maya nodded. Let's finish this. The show began. The audience erupted as Jiho walked on stage. Daniel and Minho smiled. Confidently. They waved. They joked. They thought they were stars. Jiho started with easy questions. The atmosphere stayed light. Then, the first document appeared. Daniel frowned. The audience became quieter. Then came another document, then an email, then screenshots. Minho shifted in his seat. The smile slowly disappeared. Jiho remained calm the entire time. Interesting, he said. Would either of you like to explain this? Neither had a good answer. Backstage, Maya watched on a monitor. Her heart pounded. Minseok whispered, dramatically, this is cinema. Then Jiho smiled toward the side of the stage. There's someone else who deserves to join this conversation. Maya walked out. The audience exploded. Daniel looked stunned. Minho looked terrified. Maya smiled sweetly. Miss me? The applause lasted almost 30 seconds. For the first time all evening, Daniel and Minho understood what was happening. This wasn't an interview, it was an exposure, and it had only just begun. Daniel spent years building an image. Successful, sophisticated, trustworthy. That image lasted exactly 22 minutes. One piece of evidence after another appeared on the giant. Screens, contracts, messages, business records. The audience watched in disbelief. You stole her proposal, Jiho said. No, a document appeared. The audience gasped. Daniel swallowed. Maya folded her arms. Still no? The crowd laughed. Daniel tried changing his story. Then another witness appeared through video call. Then another. Every explanation collapsed. Every excuse created new problems. Social media reacted instantly. Clips spread across every platform. The hashtag supporting Maya climbed to the top of trending lists. During a commercial break, Daniel sat silently. For the first time, he looked genuinely worried. Backstage, Maya watched carefully. She expected satisfaction. Instead, she felt something else. Relief. Minseok handed her water. You okay? I think so. Good. You know, you're surprisingly wise sometimes. Minseok looked emotional. I'm writing that down. When filming resumed, Daniel finally admitted part of the truth. The audience reacted immediately. The admission spread online within minutes. Years of carefully built credibility vanished before millions of viewers, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. If Daniel's segment was bad, Minho's was catastrophic. The Evidence connected anonymous accounts directly to him. Rumors that fake screenshots coordinated. Attacks. Months of lies. One by one they appeared on screen. Minho denied everything. Then another document appeared, and another, and another. The audience grew quieter with each revelation. Maya watched him carefully. For months, she had doubted herself because of those rumors. Now the truth was public. You knew exactly what people would believe, she said. Minho couldn't answer. The silence was enough. Jiho stayed calm. Throughout the segment, he never shouted, never mocked, never celebrated. Simply presented facts that made the truth even harder to escape. By the end of the episode, many audience members looked shocked. Others looked angry. When the show finally ended, the applause was thunderous. Backstage, the production team erupted into celebration. Researchers hugged each other. Producers cheered. Ratings. Reports started arriving. Record numbers. The biggest episode of the year. Minseok sprinted into the room waving a tablet. We broke the internet. That's not a real statistic, Jiho replied. It should be. Maya laughed. For the first time since seeing her face on that giant screen in Gangnam, she felt completely free. The lies were gone. The truth was public. And when she looked across the room, she found Jiho already looking at her. Neither looked away. Neither needed to. Because both knew this story was no longer about revenge. It was about what came next. And what came next looked very promising. The morning after the broadcast felt unreal. Maya woke up expecting the same anxiety she had carried for months. Instead, her phone would not stop vibrating. Messages flooded in from customers, influencers, reporters, and complete strangers. For the first time, people weren't talking about rumors. They were talking about her, her business, her work, her ideas, her story. Lena called before breakfast. You broke the internet. That's the second time I've heard that this week. Because it's true. Maya laughed. Is everyone exaggerating? No, your business website crashed twice. Maya sat upright. What? Congratulations. Success is attacking. Over the following days, everything accelerated. Orders poured in. Investors reached out. Interviews were requested. The proposal Daniel tried to benefit from was finally becoming reality under Maya's own name. One afternoon, she walked into Han Media carrying coffee for the team. Minseok immediately pointed. Successful people bring snacks. I brought coffee. Coffee is liquid snacks. Jiho looked up from his desk. You're encouraging him. I'm rewarding good behavior. Then why is he getting coffee? Minseok gasped dramatically. I am being bullied in the workplace. The room burst into laughter, but beneath the jokes, Maya felt something different. Peace. For months she had felt trapped. Now she felt free. The attention that once hurt her was finally helping her. Days later, she attended the official launch event for her beauty brand. The venue was packed. Reporters filled the room. Customers lined up outside. Maya stood backstage, trying not to panic. What if nobody buys anything? Maya, Jiho said. Yes? There are 300 people outside. What if they're here for free samples? Minseok nodded. That is honestly a valid concern, Jiho threw a napkin at him. The event became a huge success. Products sold out. Influencers posted. Reviews, customers shared photos online. By the end of the evening, Maya's company had generated more attention than she had ever imagined. Later that night, she stood on a balcony overlooking Seoul. Jiho joined her. You did it. We did it. You're giving me too much credit that you literally helped save my reputation, Jiho smiled. You saved it yourself. For a moment, neither spoke. The city lights glittered below. Then Minseok appeared carrying dessert. Why are you here? Jiho asked. Because every romantic scene needs snacks. Go. When I understood, he paused. After dessert. Success changed everything, including Daniel and Minho. 3 months earlier, they laughed at Maya, publicly. Now they wanted meetings. The first attempt came from Daniel. Maya arrived at a cafe and immediately regretted agreeing. Daniel smiled. Nervously. You look good. That's how mirrors describe me too, Daniel winced. Maya, I wanted to apologize. That's a strong opening. I made mistakes. Several. I know. He looked down. For what it's worth, I never expected things to go this far. Maya nodded. I know. Daniel looked surprised. You do? Yes. Then why aren't you angry? Maya smiled. Because you're no longer important enough to ruin my day. The conversation ended shortly afterward. The second attempt came from Minho. That one was somehow worse. He arrived carrying flowers. Maya immediately handed them to a nearby employee. Minho looked horrified. You didn't even keep them. I don't accept gifts from people who spent months insulting me, he tried, smiling. We had good times together. Maya stared. You spread rumors about me online. His smile vanished. That wasn't my finest moment. That is the understatement of the year. For several minutes, Minho attempted to explain himself. The more he talked, the worse it sounded. Finally, Maya stood. I forgive you. Minho blinked. You do? Yes. His face brightened. But I don't want you anywhere near my life. The smile disappeared again. When she left, Maya felt lighter than ever. That chapter was finally over. That evening, she told Jiho and Minsok everything. Minsok nearly fell off a chair laughing. They actually thought they had a chance? Apparently. Jiho shook his head. What did you say? I told them they weren't important enough to ruin my day. Minsok stood and applauded. That was beautiful. For the rest of the evening they celebrated. Not because Daniel and Minho failed, but because Maya had finally moved beyond them. She no longer needed revenge. She no longer needed validation. She was finally free. Arrived in Seoul. The leaves changed color. The air cooled. And somehow Jiho still had not confessed. Minsok found this extremely frustrating. You two are impossible, Maya laughed. What did we do? You like him. No comment. He likes you. No comment. See? Impossible. Weeks later, Jiho invited Maya to dinner, a private rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. The view was spectacular. The atmosphere was perfect. Minsok somehow appeared anyway. Why are you here? Jiho asked. I was told there would be food. You weren't invited, and yet here I am. Maya laughed, so hard she nearly spilled her drink. Eventually, Minsok finally left, or at least pretended to. The evening grew quieter, more personal, more honest. Jiho looked unusually nervous. Maya noticed. Immediately, what's wrong? Nothing. You're lying. Probably. She smiled. Try again. Jiho looked out across Seoul, then back at her. When I first met you, I thought you would make an interesting story. Maya listened quietly. Then I thought you would make a great friend. His voice softened, and somewhere along the way, that stopped being enough. For a moment, the city seemed silent. Maya felt her heart racing. Jiho took a breath. I love you. There it was. Simple, honest, real. Maya stared at him, then laughed. Jiho blinked. That wasn't the reaction I expected. Sorry, she wiped a tear from her eye. You took so long. Now it was Jiho's turn to laugh. So that's a yes? Maya leaned forward. That's a yes. They kissed beneath the lights of Seoul. For the first time since everything began, there was no scandal, no rumors, no revenge. Just two people who had found each other at exactly the right moment. Unfortunately, that moment lasted approximately 5 seconds. Then Minsok jumped out from behind a decorative plant. I knew it. Both nearly fell out of their chairs. Minsok! What? Were you spying? No. Then why do you have binoculars? Minsok looked down. That's a fair question. Nobody believed him. The three of them laughed together. And for the first time, in a very long time, Maya realized something important. The worst day of her life had led her to the best chapter of it. Daniel and Minho became distant memories. Her business continued, growing. Jiho remained by her side. And Minsok continued being a disaster. Some things never change. Thankfully, the important things do.